Sean from Ace Appliance in Toledo, Ohio. Welcome back to another in-home diagnostic video brought to you by ApplianceVideo.com. Okay, we're out in a Roper top-load washer. It's just a conventional machine. It's not high efficiency. The complaint is that it won't spin. So I'm going to go ahead and do a spin cycle, turn it on, and see what kind of noises we hear to know what to try to tackle. Alright, so that sounds to me like a motor coupling. In order to verify it, I'm just going to tilt the machine back, reach with my hand in between the motor and the transmission to where the motor coupling is, and see if I can feel that it's broken or not. Alright, the tools we'll need for this repair, we're going to need a number 2 Phillips, which I incorporated with my drill here. I also have a 1/4 inch bit that I can replace in here to take off some additional screws. I have a flathead screwdriver to remove clamps. I have a extension piece for my socket set that I'll use with my hammer in order to get the new coupler onto the transmission shaft and onto the motor shaft. Alright, so we're just going to take it back, pull it slightly, and I can just reach my hand up in between the motor and transmission. And it's definitely broken because I can move it, wiggle it around with just my fingers. So I'm going to get an estimate to replace the motor coupling. Alright, so to replace the motor coupling, we could technically tilt it back and do it underneath without looking, but we're going to take the cabinet off just to make it easier to do. This one here, there are 2 screws on the back side that hold the control panel down. So we're going to take those out. Once we get those loose, then we can tilt the control panel up, which then exposes our lid switch and the 2 brass clamps that hold the cabinet to the, we'll say, the frame of the machine. So we're going to disconnect our lid switch. I'm then going to grab a flathead screwdriver so I can remove the clamps. There's a tab inside. Just pull back and it will pop off. Set it to the side. Like that, and now I can grasp the whole cabinet and pull it off of the machine, which will expose all the inside components. Alright, so I'm going to grab this, tilt it forward, and then slide it straight out. Alright, now with it apart like this, now we have access down here to our motor and our pump, and that's where our motor coupling is. So we're going to go ahead and pop off the pump, unmount the motor, and then we can get our motor coupling off. Alright, so we're going to remove our pump first. There's a clamp here. I'll just use my screwdriver, pop it down, and we'll do the same thing here with the other one. Pop it up, and then the pump should pull straight off, which it did. We're going to remove our clamps out of the motor so they don't fall down. Now we have 2 clamps that also hold in. There's one here holding the motor. They're held in place with a screw, a 1/4 inch screw. And I have to disconnect the power supply, so I'm going to remove that first. I'm going to remove our 1/4 inch screws. Alright, and now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to start with the bottom clamp and pop that off. Because the top one is actually the weight bearing one that holds it in place. So now before I go to do the top one, I'm going to put my hand underneath it so the motor doesn't fall to the floor. Pop it up. And we can kind of wiggle our motor and it will come off. And then we can pull it out. So that now we can see our motor coupling that's stuck on the bottom of the motor here. We remove this because it's actually cracked and broken. Right there, and then the other half of this is stuck onto our transmission. So with the screwdriver, we're just going to pry that off. So we'll set the motor to the side. Alright, so right in here is our other piece of the coupler. what we're going to do is get between the back of the coupler and the transmission. So with my flathead screwdriver, I'm just going to come back here and we're just going to try to pry it off, which came off really easy for us. So here's our other piece of the coupler. So we're going to get our new coupler and we're going to put it on. Alright, so we have our new coupler. This one's a little bit different. It has a metal bushing in the center. It still goes on the same way, so we're going to line that up. And what it is, because it's metal, we kind of have to hammer it in. So what I use is a 1/2-inch socket extension and my hammer. And so I'm going to just take it and just tap it back. Now I want to make sure that this is flush, so I can still feel a little bit of a lip there. So we're going to then knock on it a little bit more. And now we're even. And what I like to do with this is I'll position it straight up and down like that. It helps me when I go to put the motor back on. I'm going to take the center piece of our coupler, put it onto our rear piece of the coupler. There we go, like that. So now we're going to go and on the motor, put the coupler on the other side of the motor. Alright, so I got the other piece of the coupler, just going to put it in position, and just like on the transmission, we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to tap it down until it's flush, just like it is there. Now, like I pointed out before, how we positioned the coupler on the transmission, we want to make sure that this is going to be in the compatible, so it fits in there. So we have it in the right way. Now we're going to go ahead and put our motor back onto the transmission. Alright, when I go to put it back, I'll hold it in this fashion. So I have the lower two mounts, motor mounts here, and they're going to correspond with the two holes here, so I can feel that when it goes in. And because I have my coupler turned in the proper to fit here, in theory I can put those in and it'll just roll up into place, and then I can grab my clamps and snap them into place to hold the motor. So we'll see how easy that goes. Alright, so the motor is now in position. I feel it go all the way back. I gotta grab my upper clamp. It just came out all the way. Snap that. I'm gonna grab my lower one, snap that into position. Alright, and we had taken out the screws that held those clamps in place, so I'm gonna put those back in. Alright, so I got my screw. Now I'm going to put the wiring harness back on before I put the pump on. I just find it's easier. Put that in position there. It snaps on. Now the motor shaft and the pump are keyed. So I'm going to look at the inside part of the motor, or the pump, I'm sorry, and see how that has to be positioned for our pump to slide on. And turn it like so. Alright, so now I can go ahead and slide the pump on. Just like that. And so it's out of the way. I have to put my clamps back on that I had taken off. There are slots in here that they go into that are on the motor. So we put them in and turn it and then snap it down. Do the same thing for the bottom. Alright, so we just replaced the motor coupling. Now we're going to go ahead and put our cabinet back on the washer. Alright, so I'm going to take my cabinet, get it in position. Now we have to put it on at about a 45-degree angle. So it's slide underneath the lip here in the front. And then we're just going to gently kind of let it fall down into place, where we can then hook up our clamps that we had taken out earlier. And we just press on those clamps and they'll snap down into place. Don't forget our lid switch here. Then we can close up our control panel and then we can secure that. Alright, so I'm going to take my control panel, just rotate it over, down into position, and I can go to the back side and tighten down the two screws, which we had loosened up previously. So now we can go ahead and give it a test run, make sure that it's going to spin. So I'm going to go ahead and put it into the spin cycle, which it is already. Pull it out and give it a second to go. And then I can open it up and we should see the tub come to a stop. There we go. So now we are functioning again. Thank you for watching another quality in-home diagnostic video brought to you by ApplianceVideo.com.